So we're going to talk about direction, we're going to talk about acting, but the big thing to me is you're the face for the next generation as Miles Davis. When they think about Miles Davis, this is it. Was that something you thought about while you're acting?
No, and I don't think I will be. I mean, his is the enduring legacy. I just got to visit for a minute and try to bring things to the fore. But Miles Davis is Miles Davis. There's only one.
For sure. Well, his music, of course, is going to be there. And another thing about that, does Miles Davis now become part of your life? Does his songs kind of lead things or contain part of your memories now?
I mean, they did before. Miles was a big part of my musical life prior to this. One of the first albums I ever came across was an album that my parents had, which is Porgy and Bess, which is featured pretty heavily in this. His composition that he did with Gil Evans, Miles Davis and Gil Evans, and it was something that it was in heavy rotation, when I was growing up. And I actually, when I went to college, took the album with me. So he's been a part of my life in that way for a long time, and a lot of his music has. But what's been great about this experience is being introduced to all of his music and bootlegs and outtakes and remasters and things that the family hit me to and things that Wynton hit me to, just different stuff that's been amazing to come across.
I've talked to many writers. My favorite, though, was Sylvester Stallone's answer, and he said, writing is debilitating, but it's worth it. How do you feel about writing?
Writing is very, 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 very difficult. I mean, I was fortunate enough to write this with Stephen Begelman and partner, which it's great to bounce things off of and be able to kind of gain some perspective in that way. But when it's just you and that cursor or you and that pencil and pad by yourself, it's one of the hardest things ever. But ultimately rewarding once it's birthed,
And as a director, sir, the last question for you is just, what is the one thing that you want to tell people, who are afraid of maybe jumping over, whether it's actors or maybe just some kid who's got an iPhone who wants to create something?
Well, I always go back to what, Miles was always talking about in the way that he always approached everything that he did. And all of his music was, fear no mistakes, for there are none, Just go, jump off the ledge. You're never going to be ready. No directors that I know that I talked to today ever feel ready. And you always feel like you could have done it better. So if you're waiting for some moment where it's going to be, now I can go, and there's going to be some crystallizing thing that happens, it's never going to happen. And while you're doing it, you're going to be doubting it the whole way. That's just the nature of the beast.